financing to make commercial films. If we have $100 million a year for the entire industry, for every filmmaker in Canada,
Right.
we're not going to be able to compete. Even though one of the initiatives in the federal government in Canada is to say we want to make more commercial films and emulate some of the stuff that's coming out of the United States. So I think filmmakers just kind of stick to their own stuff, treat them more as art projects in a way, which I think is maybe not a good thing if you want to develop an industry. But we tried to achieve a balance of an audience-friendly film that's still idea-based and very low budget compared to kind of U.S. films. It's the hardest. It really is really difficult, especially to make the movies you want to make. It's
Right.
next to impossible. A lot of directors subsidized by doing commercials, music videos, coming down here. But to actually make a living doing the films, there's maybe a handful. It's better to develop your own voice
Right.
as a filmmaker, but it's struggling.
Well, I just in terms of what you were saying earlier, in terms of what would make it better, I really look at it as two different kinds of approaches to problems or opportunities. One is obviously the widest distribution possible, which I think most internet options are for the widest. I think those are the films that have the greatest difficulty finding their audiences here in the United States, and I think that has to change radically. Film festivals in general represent a year-round, geographically disparate network where films can be shown with hopefully the best possible screening and sound in the highest possible technical levels, with thoughtful introductions and Q&As, and really find their audiences. It might only have 8 or 10 screens in 3 markets when it opens, and the film will make $14,000 and then go away forever until it's And I think that we've got to do something about that, because if the film went 8 months finding its audience at all these different film festivals, and then when it's eventually theatrically released, it has no real life, then something has to change, and I think something has to change in the sort of the film festival side of things.
I think that it's a marketing, it's a mind space issue, and it has to be thought through, because what's happened in the last few years is that the ability for a movie to open theatrically, as you said, the opening weekend phenomenon, and that's actually gotten worse. It was never that easy for
Right.
smaller films, let's be honest. For the movies that are going to do $1 million, you have to have a tiny company with a tiny overhead. So for us, no, that's not a business at all. A movie that does $1 million in the box office, that's a serious film about adults and for adults, can't work on video at all.
I think all of that is that's about hopefully sustaining or regrowing that which currently exists, the current distribution model that currently exists, whatever. But at a certain point, it's like, what's really more important: creating a business that's successful for the people that are in the business now, or truly finding an audience and communicating to the audience and getting the audience to buy those films and creating a whole new model, which may not sustain focus and its huge overhead or sustain.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, but the bigger question still, though, is that theatrical question, and is a movie if it's not played in a movie theater? And
Right.
you get to these sort of very existential questions, like if a movie
The movie falls in the forest.
does anyone hear it right? And because we can talk about sort of moving the whole thing to a television screen, but then is it a movie? And maybe it is, and maybe 50 years from now, like it'll be, the theater screens will be, quaint. I don't know.
There is something there to that, where there's a lot of variables. There's talent visiting, there's print shipping, there's publicity and marketing materials, and yes, there are fees, and there are percentages, percentage of the box office versus a guaranteed minimum, and there are lots of different ways to be able to structure it and model it. Would it be for every single film in a 100 film festival? No, it might be for 10 or 15 of those films.
The festival to me gives the opportunity for us to it's the weeding out process. For sales agents, for buyers, somebody has done some work somewhere, programming to say, guys, these movies are not, dog shit. Take a look at them.
Festivals have many objectives, and and I've been on boards of various festivals, and one of them is to sell tickets. and then others are to promote artists, and so they're all like competing objectives.
How does Amazon view the film festival circuit and whether it's getting to be a narrower path? I mean, you guys
Sure.
are in competition, ironically, for films that might come on to Amazon to be streamed.
Sure.
With Howard as a distributor who's going to have a DVD rights.
Absolutely, no. It's sort of what I said earlier. They view film festivals and the filmmakers that are in film festivals is kind of the programmatic, the curatorial, the quality membrane that separates artists from, user-generated content. People that are just making stuff because they want to make sure that their friends see it and because they want to capture something. They all are potential business partners for 3 different distribution possibilities on the Amazon system. One is Amazon Video on Demand, which is a pay-per-download service. One is IMDb Theaters, which is quite new, it's a month or 2 old. And then CreateSpace, which is the DVD on demand. All of these are very different than what we've been talking about today. They're basically what Richie doesn't want to do, which is take on your own distribution plans yourself. But they're all really plans that a rights holder, whatever that means, whether it's an individual person or a distributor or sales agent or whatever, can actually decide that they don't want to be surrounded with bubble wrap and cardboard to distribute their own DVD, but they can get into a business and then they can take on marketing of it themselves. And again, as Howard was saying, it is nascent. It really is nascent. It's hard to say there are these spectacular success stories within it, but as businesses, they're viable and growing.
Because it's so nascent, I mean, your purpose is either to make money or to try and figure out a way that you will ultimately make money. We're dealing with sort of the film industry is 100 years old, and we're dealing with a number of aspects of it that haven't changed. And so one of them is celluloid, and one of them is the very complicated revenue streams, and the other is rights and music, and all of those things. And so as we go into the 21st century methods of delivery, some of that stuff is going to change.
If a movie theater that's had 35 millimeter projection equipment in it suddenly replaces it with digital equipment, I don't necessarily think that galvanizes the movie-going community to want to go there. I do think that what you'll see with exhibition is fewer screens. It will be a much nicer experience in many, many ways, and it will be a much more special thing for people to do. It's hard to, especially here in LA with places like the ArcLight and stuff. It's nice to go to a theater where it's a nice feeling, and you're not surrounded with smoked glass and brass railings and purple carpet.